Good day there everyone, and welcome to another gem cutting video. My name is Cliff. I'm a gem cutter from Australia, and in today's episode we will be featuring rhodolite garnet from the Umba region of Tanzania. So to give you an idea of what part of Africa these gems come from, I'll include a map of Tanzania and the region of the Umba River. For a long while now, within the gem world, the garnet for me has actually been my nemesis. It's been a love-hate relationship, the garnet. It really has a lovely colour, but often when I go to facet it, I'm fraught with all these little obstacles that it throws at me. And as you'll find out in this video, the curse of the garnet remains with me. So before I start faceting, let's go through the design sequence. I'm using gem designing software called Gem Cut Studio. However, in this case I'll be highlighting a design by a well-known gem cutter designer called Jeff Graham. The name of this design is called Rainbow, and I'll drop in a link in the description area where you can get this design, because you can get it on the internet for nothing. So this particular design is an oval design where it features barrier and facets on the pavilion, and the rest of the facets are reminiscent of a standard round brilliant. Incidentally, for those people who do not know who Jeff Graham is, sadly Jeff passed away quite a few years ago, but within the world of faceting he is regarded as one of the best gem designers out there. And he left a legacy of gem designs that you can download for nothing. Also, there are a series of books that you do need to pay for, but if you are a faceter and you really want to understand what good gem design is, then I would highly recommend that you try some of Jeff's designs. So that's what the completed cut will look like, and I will throw in a computer generated GIF of roughly what the gem would look like on completion. This particular garnet was faceted during an online workshop with my faceting group. Unfortunately, we are all in lockdown here in southern Australia in the state of Victoria, so our workshops we have to do online. Unfortunately, we can't get out and about and see each other, so to save time I decided to dop this particular gem with super glue. Normally I use a two-part epoxy called DevCon, and I allow the glue to set overnight so I get a firm attachment. However, in this case, to save time, I did use super glue. Also, to give you a heads up, after the transfer I get a detachment, and then things really start to belly up and the curse of the garnet rears its ugly head. And to add to the woes of this garnet, there is some foreign material in it. You'll see that later. I thought it might have been magnetite, but if you're a gemologist or a geologist, leave a comment in the description area and let me know what you think it is. So I'm currently grinding with a 600 grit topper lap, and I'm just getting the preform of the gem. Then I'll go down to a very worn 800 grit lap, and then I'll move on to a polish. Here you can see that I've cut the facets to a center point using a 600 grit diamond topper lap, and you can start to see the foreign material within the gem, those little black flecks. So as you can see here, I've gone over those same facets and I've used an 800 grit diamond topper lap, which is quite worn out. And then the next step will be to do a final polish. I'm not going to do a pre-polish. I'll be using a 50,000 grit diamond compound with the Herco valve oil on a tin lap. So as you can see here, I've done a final polish on the first set of the pavilion. Then I'll cut in the girdle outline, I'll form in the barrier facets, and then finally finishing up with the rest of the pavilion facets. So as you could see in the previous scenes, the pavilion has worked out well. I've actually got some really nice meet points. The design is working as it should and it's looking good. So the next step is for me to do the secondary transfer. But these days, before I do the transfer, I use these alignment blocks because I'm finding my transfer block or my transfer jig is not quite as accurate as it should be when I do the transfer and start faceting the crown. In a nutshell, there are two alignment blocks. The first alignment block is bolted onto the dop stick, as you can see me doing, and then I'll level it out dead level on the master lap. Once the first alignment block is leveled on the master lap, so it's just barely touching it, then I'll remove the dop stick with the first alignment block attached to it, and it will be placed into my original transfer jig. Now, many of you have seen this process where I've used my original transfer jig or transfer block and then I attach another dop stick onto the gem and glue that back on. So if you haven't seen that, then I would advise you to watch some of my other videos and you'll just see where I use my original transfer block. So once both dop sticks are glued onto the gem within the transfer block, the dop sticks are removed, the secondary alignment block is placed on the other side of the dop stick and leveled off onto the master plate. So now the first alignment block that I put on and the original dop stick have been detached by heat. So I've placed in the dop stick with the secondary alignment block into my quill and I've leveled it out onto my master plate. So now I have a perfect transfer. It's really important that you do get a perfect transfer because your crown facets will line up with the girdle outline and you really don't need to cheat as much. All in all, it just makes the whole process of faceting a lot easier. So once again, I'm using my 600 grit lap and I'm going to cut out the first set of crown facets. So things were going really well and getting great alignment, then all of a sudden disaster strikes, the gem detaches off the dop stick and this is the last thing you want. For me, a detachment of a gem is very rare, so I've re-glued the gem back into the dop stick and as you can see it's a different colour and this time I've used epoxy glue. So the thing about a detachment, once you've reattached the gem back onto the dop, things will never be the same as they were. Every facet from now on will virtually have to be cheated in, and even though things look okay, the reality is that under a loupe, under magnification, that there's going to be shortfallings, and this is a great example because as you get closer to faceting the table and getting to the top of the gem, you'll find that the facets become more and more out of alignment, and you can see here with the 4 facets that I'm cutting and polishing that they just don't align properly. So I do have some issues with alignment as I gradually move up to faceting the crown. I've got 4 little facets that I need to cut right now, and because they're so small, I'm not going to run the motor on my machine. I'm just going to set the angle and just lightly rub across for 800 grit lap, and that'll cut the next 4 facets down to depth. If you've got really tiny facets, this is a really good way to cut them in. So as you can see, the 4 tiny facets have been cut in by hand with no assistance from the motor of the machine. You'll also be able to see that these 4 facets don't meet, or they're not matching up correctly, and when I get onto the table I'll also find that the meet points of the table will not align, and that's all because of detachment. As you can see, the table of the gem is now being cut and polished, and some of the surrounding star facets just don't quite meet up. That was to be expected. I could cut those in by lowering the angle of the mast, but it's a heck of a lot of work, and I feel that it's just not worth the extra effort. So coming up shortly, you'll see the final reveal. The gem will be seen on a rotator. I'd like to thank all my regular subscribers and viewers, but last but not least, thank you to all my patrons. It's your support and your pledges that really help maintain and improve this channel. We've bought a webcam from your pledges, and we've done some live streaming. Also, I'll be buying a new camera from your pledges very soon, so hopefully we can improve the video quality. So to those people who want to become a patron, it does help. So until next time everybody, take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.